I want to talk about a story about happiness and finding relative happiness with where you are. This story I heard, it made a big impact on me, and I thought that it would be of value to share. So basically how it goes is there's a person sitting in a super fancy car, and they're looking up at the sky. They're sitting in their car overlooking this beautiful landscape, and they see somebody in a helicopter, and they're like, oh man, it would be so nice, and I wish that I could have a helicopter. Then that person that's sitting in that really nice car, somebody pulls up in your average, average car, and they're like, man, what would it be like to be in that super fancy sports car that person's in? Then somebody rolls up in a car that has, the duct tape bumper, it's barely holding on, it's like a total crapshoot if the thing's gonna start or run. And they look at like, man, what would it be like to have a reliable car? Then you jump into the next person who is seeing that person with the duct tape car that some days works, some day doesn't, and they're waiting at a bus stop watching that car go by. And they're like, man, how nice would it be to have a car that even works half the time? How sweet would that be? Then from there, you have the person that's walking that can't even afford the bus ticket, and they're like, man, how nice would it be to be under the shelter waiting for the bus and not have to walk in the rain? And then from there, there's somebody that's seeing somebody walking in the rain that's up on their balcony in a wheelchair, and they're like, what would it be like to even have the freedom to go walk, let alone any of the other things? So it's one of those things where happiness is a relative thing, and it's very easy to continually be moving the field goals of what your objectives are forward and forward and forward. So you get a car, you want a nicer car. You are always chasing these things. So all of that is to share this story with you in the hopes that this helps you find happiness with what you currently have and understand that we have so much that we can be grateful for. And simply creating a practice for gratitude, whether that's reaching out to one person every day and telling them that you're grateful for. See if you can go a month reaching out to somebody different, one person different every day. Write down 3 things you're grateful for at some point through the day. Make it a practice where it's what you do first thing in the morning, what a good recap at the end of the day. But basically work on building a practice to find gratitude with what you currently have, where you currently are, what the parameters in which you currently have, because it can always be better, but it can always be worse. And the fastest way to find immediate happiness is to be thankful for where you are and what you currently have.